Hey boy, you wanna dance with me? Show me your moves.
/enter.
Oh, let's go!
Hey there, Mr. Redder here.
And your girl, Karen.
Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen demands to dance with me at my own wedding. My dad married Sandy when I was 16. Sandy has no kids. She was upset to learn that I mostly went to my grandparents' house after school and that I wanted to continue that when she moved in, something I had been doing since my mom passed when I was 4. I'm close to my grandparents. My mom was their only kid, and I'm their only grandkid. So maybe that made us a little bit closer, or maybe it's just all the time that we spent together. But anyway, that was a time when Sandy wanted me to be home after school instead of at my grandparents' because she wanted the chance to have some mother-son time, and she said she was taking her role as my mother seriously. I told her it was nice and all, but that she wasn't my mother, and that was okay, not to stress out over it. A few weeks after that exchange, she told me about her first marriage, how she raised her stepkids from the time that they were elementary schoolers to teenagers, and then her husband passed and they wanted to be with blood family and cut all contact with her. She was like, "I know you're older and all, but I've always wanted to be a mother, and you lost yours when you were 4, so why not let me be your new mother, and we can both get what we need?" I told her that was not something I needed, and sorry. I knew she was never happy about that. She always kept trying to push that boundary. She would introduce herself as my mom, me as her son, and would talk about being a boy mom. I never wanted a new mom and always made that clear. It was a couple of weeks ago that things turned a little nasty. She heard I was doing a special dance with my grandma at my wedding in November and told me she deserved a dance too. She said she's the person who is in the position of mom. She's the future grandmother of my kids, and she deserves her chance to be honored with something public like that. She told me I'm a young man and need to learn how to treat a woman who has been in the role of my mom for a decade now. I laughed, which only made her angry. She told me she was demanding a dance after everything she's done for me. This is when I told her that she needs to accept she is not a mother, that as sad as it is, she can't make it happen with someone else's kid, and that she is not entitled to demand a dance at my wedding since she's not a mother or a parent to me. She said, knowing what she has been through, I should be ashamed of myself for talking to her like that. My dad called me after and asked if there was anything I could give her to make her feel better because she's really hurt. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. That's a lovely thing to do for your grandmother. You told stepmother she wasn't a mother figure to you, and that's your choice. Don't feel bad about it, OP. Have a lovely wedding when it comes. Not the jerk. You were 16 when she became your stepmother. You made it clear that you didn't want her to take a motherly role in your life, and she has repeatedly ignored and pushed boundaries. It may have been harsh to have worded it as you did, but she didn't seem to take no for an answer. Not the jerk. What's really sad is that she's missed out on having any sort of a relationship with you because she's pushed and pushed for a relationship she's neither entitled to or should have expected. Not the jerk. Throughout the entire time you've known her, she has been concerned only with her own needs and has ignored yours, as well as regularly stomped all over your established boundaries. If she truly wanted a mother-son relationship, then she would have offered and then stepped back and let whatever would have happened happen. As it is, by pushing so hard, she made this inevitable. Also, your father should have shut this down the first time it happened. This is almost as much his fault as hers. By the way, her issues with her previous family are not yours to deal with. It's hers, and it is unfair of her to make it your responsibility. Would I be the jerk for going to the funeral of my ex-girlfriend's brother and missing my sister-in-law's wedding? I, 25 male, am in a relationship with Amelia, who's 26. We've been together for 2 years and she's wonderful. We live together and I think we are close to engagement. In the past, I was in a relationship with Julia, 25 female. We met in high school and had a very passionate relationship for 5 years, but it didn't work out. In the end, it got quite heated between us, and even with her parents, so we blocked each other. Julia had a brother, Dan, who's 2 years younger, and we always shared a special bond. Like me, he wanted to become a doctor, and I helped him with med school. Even after the breakup, we stayed close. Julia and their parents weren't aware. He was definitely very important for me, almost like a younger brother. Unfortunately, Dan had an accident and passed last week. I didn't know until Julia came to my home to announce it 2 days ago. I'm absolutely devastated. She apologized because she wasn't aware that Dan and I were still close. She also thanked me for being there for him when he was fighting depression and that all of her family would like to see me at his funeral next Sunday in their hometown, 7-hour drive. I replied that I wasn't sure if I could come because I'm running low on money at the moment and my car will be at the mechanics. She said she could drive me there, but she had to be there 2 days earlier to help with the organization. I said that I'll think about it. We exchanged numbers and hugged. She cried a little and said she was sorry for all of the things of the past and she was happy to see me again. Amelia came home at this moment and I explained the situation when Julia left. She already knew about my past relationship with Julia and my friendship with Dan. Amelia told me that I wouldn't be able to go to the funeral because the wedding of her sister is the same day and we both agreed to go. I said that I need a bit of time to process all this. The following morning, I had a very emotional phone call with Dan and Julia's parents. They apologized for the past and thanked me for being there for Dan, that they would always consider me family from now. They insisted that they would like to host me for the funeral to save me cost. After reflection, even if it sucks for Amelia and the wedding, I cannot imagine missing Dan's funeral. I talked with my co-residents and the head of my unit, and they're okay with me missing a few days and covering for me. When I told my decision to Amelia yesterday, she blew up and said that I'm a huge jerk to ditch her and her family in favor of my exes. She said that I committed to the wedding and I couldn't leave her alone to reconnect with my ex. We had a big argument and we haven't talked much since. I had some messages from her friends and her sister. They said that I'm a major jerk for abandoning my girlfriend in favor of my ex. I was sure that I was making the right choice, but I started to feel bad and second-guess myself. So, am I the jerk? I'm gonna say no jerks here, because I understand wanting to be at Dan's funeral, and it's not like you're missing the wedding to go party with friends or something, but I can also understand why your girlfriend would be upset. You're going with your ex a few days early and staying with your ex-girlfriend's family who you didn't get along with in the past to the point of blocking them on your phone. Would you be totally fine with her missing a, hopefully, once-in-a-lifetime family event to be with an ex for a funeral and being with them for days, not just a few hours? I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. There's a chance you come back from the funeral with her stuff moved out. I agree with no jerks here. I wanted to say you would not be the jerk because in a perfect world, going to a funeral would not be a problem and everyone would understand why it would be so important for you to go. However, there are definitely a lot of complicated feelings involved. Your girlfriend is disappointed you're backing out of the wedding and jealous you're going to be with your ex. When I'm just reading this online, I can absolutely see your point and think, yeah, of course he should go. But if I'm honest with myself, if I was in your girlfriend's shoes, I don't know if I would be able to rise above those emotions and think the same. So you are definitely not the jerk for wanting to go, and while it would be nice for your girlfriend to be able to see it that way, I certainly won't call her the jerk for feeling disappointed and jealous over the situation. I hope you both can take a step back, work on communicating through this, and figure something out. It is definitely a tough spot to be in. Okay, wait. You and your ex blocked each other because it got so heated, but she came by your house after her brother passed, and she didn't know you and the brother were still close? How did she know where you lived if you hadn't been in contact? She wants you to go home to the funeral and stay with her extra days? Hello? If you were blocked for years, how did she know where you live? None of this adds up. Seems like you might have still been in touch with her. Also, a funeral is for the living. You already had a phone conversation with her family and visited with her when she showed up at your door by mental telepathy since y'all had no contact. You say you want to marry your girlfriend now, but you're picking your old girlfriend and her family over her. This has nothing to do with Dan. He's gone. You're gonna stay with your ex for days when emotions are everywhere and think that your girlfriend's supposed to be okay with that? This is the end of your current relationship, and you will only have yourself to blame. You need to say it like it is. You're choosing your past instead of your future, and you will only have yourself to blame when you have to build a new future because of your choices. That's my hoodie, not a dog leash. So this just happened. I, 38 female, have worked different retail and customer service jobs most of my life, and I've dealt with my share of entitled customers at work. I've even been mistaken as an employee at a bunch of stores, but this was my first confrontational experience as a customer. My daughter and I were at Wally World getting dog food and a couple of last-minute ingredients for dinner. I'm loading a large bag of dog food while trying to keep a toddler entertained when it happened. An entitled Karen appeared. Obnoxiously pink outfit, fake gaudy jewelry, badly dyed hair, and nails long enough to make a tiger jealous. I didn't even know she was there until I felt a sharp jab in the shoulder with those nails. I turned around to an expression that could curdle milk. I say, yes?
Load 4 bags of dog food in my cart.
She demanded, pointing at the 40-pound bags that I had just loaded into my cart. No, please. No polite, would or could you. Just a terse order like she was talking to someone so beneath her that she couldn't be bothered to say anything else. I wasn't even slightly resembling a worker since I was wearing jeans, sneakers, and a black hoodie from a local haunted house. Not to mention my daughter in the cart next to me. Still, I wasn't in a rush and my daughter wasn't being fussy. If Karen had asked nicely, I could have gladly helped. I've done that a bunch of times before and have always been glad to help, so long as I got a please and thank you from the person I'm helping. Instead, I just said, I don't work here, I'm shopping. I was hoping that being direct and staying close to my daughter would show that I was busy. But no, her lip curled even harder and sounded insulted when she said,
So, you're not going to help me?
I just said, no, I need to finish my shopping. Not wanting to risk getting caught up in one of the many I don't work here lady stories that I read, I grabbed my cart with my daughter and started walking away. I just wanted to get us away from that situation ASAP. That was my mistake. Never turn your back on a rabid animal. I barely registered Karen's indignant huff before she grabbed me by the hood of my sweater and yanked. This freaked me out from suddenly being choked. I'm someone that's been trained in self-defense, martial arts, and was raised around a bunch of bikers. If maternal instincts weren't telling me to get my daughter out of danger, I probably would have done a lot more damage to the Karen than I did. I swung my arm back as hard as I could to force her to let go. I made contact with something hard enough that she let go with a yelp, and I hightailed it to the front of the store to report what happened. The employees, manager, and security were on their game and immediately went looking for Karen as soon as I told them what happened and gave a description. Unfortunately, Karen was gone by the time they went looking for her. The manager still contacted police and a report was filed. I definitely wanted to press charges if I could. According to security, after this happened, she looked really upset and insulted, but then got a shocked look on her face. She started looking around until she looked directly at a camera. Karen then grabbed her purse and sprinted out of the store, leaving her cart and all of her groceries behind. Guess she wasn't a complete idiot after all and realized how badly she had messed up. The manager promised to keep an eye out for her. The police said they would contact me if needed. My daughter had no idea that anything bad happened. She was giggling when I was running her and the cart to the front. The next day, I got a call from the officer I talked to. Either Karen grew a conscience or someone forced her to turn herself in. She showed up at the police station the next day, looking like a scolded puppy when she got there. Officer's description. Officer asked if I still wanted to press charges and said she'd likely get probation or community service. I told him that I did still want to. Part of me wonders, did she actually feel bad? Did her husband or wife or whatever ask her why she didn't have the dog food and force her to confess? Or did she come in so she wouldn't be arrested and get a lighter sentence? I don't know. I'm just surprised that she did. Am I the jerk for not wanting to get rid of my roommates as per my wife's demands? Okay, backstory time. I, male 34, and my wife, female 34, will have been married for 3 years this upcoming December. I own a 2-family house on an acre in central Jersey that I purchased when I was 25. I rent out one side and live in the other. I have 2 spare bedrooms that I also sublet, one to a dear friend of mine, male 35, and another to my cousin, female 35. I have always rented these rooms, and having the extra income between the rental side and the rooms I rent on my side means the house basically pays for itself mortgage-wise. I have to come out of pocket for utilities such as garbage, electricity, fuel, oil, etc. My monthly cost of living is anywhere from $600 to $800, handling the aforementioned bills. Relatively cheap for New Jersey, where a 2-bedroom apartment can run you $2,500. So now to the issue at hand. My wife wants to get rid of our roommates. As of now, she lives for free, absolutely zero cost of living, which has helped her significantly regarding paying down debts, fixing her credit, and so on. She's not out of the woods yet, but she's well on her way. I'd say in about another year or so, she'll be 100% debt-free. She has expressed in the past that she would like to live alone, but at the time, it just wasn't economically feasible for us to do so. She wasn't working, then lockdown happened, blah blah blah. No big deal, right? Also, I should mention, you wouldn't even know we have roommates. Sometimes I go days without bumping into one of them. Anyways, this week she slaps me with an ultimatum out of the blue that either the roommates move out or she's going to leave me. I stated that I did not think that was the smartest financial move, as she only wants to give them 30 days, which would mean we would be looking at having to come up with another $1,600 the following month. Cue argument. She states that she can afford to make up the difference, and that paying it would be worth being able to live alone together. Am I the jerk for thinking this is stupid? That giving up almost $20,000 a year in rental income on the drop of a dime doesn't make any sense? Not to mention telling a friend of 22 years, as well as my cousin, "Sorry guys, the wife's giving you 30 days notice. Good luck." Furthermore, this income allows us to travel whenever we want, buy whatever we want, go out whenever we want. It basically helps make us very flexible financially. Also, why can't we compromise? Okay, you want them gone? Let's stick it out for one more year, knock out the rest of your debt, and also give the roomies plenty of notice that this is what we're going to do. No jerks here. You're trying to make an emotional issue financial. This is not a financial issue to her. She'd rather be in a little debt than live with your friend and cousin. Your wife is saying she wants alone time with you without always having to be on. What she is asking and stating is very reasonable. Very few married people want to live with roommates for a very good reason: privacy. While these are your friends, you're asking way too much of your wife to expect her to live with your cousin and your buddy indefinitely. She's done so for 3 years. That's enough. Honestly, everything you've stated clearly illustrates that you value money and you value your friendships over your wife's comfort and feeling of security in this relationship. How would you feel if you lived with your wife's cousin and her BFF? If you never got to just hang out in your home without having to be on? Dude, read the room. Life changes and needs in a relationship change. You are not swinging single. This is not your girlfriend. This is your wife, whom you should consider a full and equal partner with equal say in this relationship. You've made it clear you do not. You're the jerk. You're willing to let your wife leave you because of money? She even offered to make up the difference. I guess my question to you is, what do you want out of a marriage? You need to start thinking of your family, your wife, and not your roommates and money. The fact that you might let her leave you over this situation is making the marriage not look too great. Am I the jerk for rushing home to get my sister's forgotten wedding veil, but giving up on bringing it to her? My oldest sister, Odette, just got married at a venue that, with no traffic, is about 2 hours and 15 minutes away. Odette planned to wear great-great-grandma Mary's veil, which has a distinct lace pattern and is passed to only the eldest daughter. In our family, it's considered good luck, heavily sentimental, and we have multiple bridal pictures of eldest daughters in the veil while standing with their mom and grandma. The bridal party and family met at Odette's house before driving to the venue. The veil had been in a garment bag, hung up in front of a closet door, but the door had been opened, the hanger fell off, and none of us missed it when we packed up. We made it to the venue by noon for the 4 p.m. wedding. Odette realized the veil was missing and ran to me in a panic, insisting I needed to be the one to go find it. Mom wouldn't drive fast enough, middle sister, Constance, was her maid of honor, and Dad was dealing with setup. I didn't think I could make it there and back, but Odette insisted and said that if needed, we could stall the ceremony a little. I floored it, but sat in bumper-to-bumper traffic for almost 2 hours. Was estimating I wouldn't be at her house until at least 2:45 p.m. I texted Odette that if I didn't turn around now, I wasn't going to make it. She texted back, "Just get it here." When I emphasized that I wouldn't make it for her wedding ceremony or reception if I didn't turn around, she said, "The photographer doesn't leave until 7. Just get it here before then, so Mom, Grandma, and I can take pictures." I made it to her house on adrenaline, but it took me forever to find the veil and get on the road again. Odette's texts continued after the wedding ceremony and pictures. I was already exhausted, sitting in rush hour traffic, and upset that I'd missed the entire thing. After rereading our texts that were all about Mary's veil, I realized that she didn't care at all about me being there, which upset me enough to turn around at 5:30 p.m. with an estimated arrival of 6:30 p.m. and getting later. I texted Odette that I was sorry, but the veil was put up and the house key was in the flower pot. I woke up to a ton of angry texts from her accusing me of ruining her wedding and not trying hard enough to get back. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. When the absence of a veil ruins a wedding more than the absence of a family member, your priorities are skewed and you are owed nothing, especially from the family member who wasn't even missed. Not the jerk. I'm getting golden child vibes here, and I'm sorry that you were treated this way. You deserved better from your sister in this moment. Please take space for yourself. Also, if the veil was so important, it would have been with her dress. Just saying. Am I the jerk for asking my brother-in-law to stay with me when my husband was traveling? My husband, male 27, and I, female 25, got married a year ago. We're living together. My family doesn't live here. They live about 2 hours away. He recently got a promotion at his job. Our house is a little bit further away from the city. We live in a farm-type house, although it's not a very big portion of land, but we have neighbors that have bigger properties. Point is, our neighbors live kind of far away. With his new position, he'll need to travel sometimes. His first trip was last year. He had to travel for 2 days. I honestly did not have a good time because I was alone and away from neighbors. I did not feel safe. I spoke to him and we agreed that next time I'll ask a friend to come stay with me. Well, he needed to travel last week too. This time it was for 3 days. I told him I was going to ask a friend, Jennifer. He left early in the morning. I thought about it and then I started overthinking. I don't think I'll feel safe if it's just Jennifer and I. We're still 2 women alone. So I called brother-in-law, Ashton, male 24, to see if he could come stay with me instead. He agreed, so I called Jennifer to tell her my plans had changed. He came over around 6 that day. We had dinner together, chatted, and watched a movie together. We mainly did those things during the time he stayed here. My husband and I spoke on the phone, but I didn't tell him I had called his brother instead of Jennifer. Ash and I are close. I'm close with all of his family, so I didn't think he would mind. My husband came home last Thursday around 8 p.m. When he saw Ashton was here, he was a bit taken aback. As it was late, I told brother-in-law to stay one more night if he wanted to, and he did. I could tell my husband was upset. I asked him what happened, and he told me nothing. The next day, after he got home from work, he was still upset, so I asked him again what's going on. He said that we had agreed that I was going to call a friend. He didn't agree with having brother-in-law over. I gave him my reasons as to why I called him instead. He still said that I shouldn't have called him because I know that their relationship is not the best. We argued, and now he's even more upset with me for not even apologizing. He asked if I'm going to call Ash every time he goes out, and I told him yes. I'll do that because I don't want to stay alone. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your husband sounds totally insecure. Big surprise there. Pretty much all guys are super insecure these days. According to him, his own brother can't even step foot in your house or you're going to cheat with him? At this point, I wouldn't even blame you if you did. It's obvious this man-child you call a husband does not trust you. I could never be with a man who doesn't even trust me. I hope you do consider leaving him for his brother. At least it sounds like the two of you are able to get along together without petty childish drama that your husband brings to the table. I'd also be highly suspecting that his little trips he's going on, he could very well be the one cheating while away and projecting that out onto you. You deserve better, and I hope you find it, whether that's with his brother or just another man who has an ounce of self-esteem and doesn't act like a petulant child. Customer demands TV satellite dish be reinstalled on the ground after roof is replaced, then wonders why his TV won't work. This is a story told to me by a coworker at a satellite TV installation company that I used to work for years ago, and I have since quit. Absolutely horrible company that treated its employees horribly. To help you understand this dilemma, I'm going to lay out some very basic groundwork here on how satellite TV works so that you can understand the dilemma that he was faced with. Context. When we install a satellite dish, we use a special inclinometer to determine whether or not our satellite dish's view will be obstructed. Each region is given a specific azimuth, elevation, and tilt that serves to identify the actual satellite in orbit and to prevent us from installing a non-functioning system. Actual story. With that said, our boss called my coworker to assist with a satellite dish relocation because a customer replaced his roof and they tore the satellite dish off the old roof when the new roof was put on. My coworker arrives and the customer tells him that he would like the satellite dish to be put on a pole outside. He says, "Fine, where would you like the pole mount to be placed?" The customer points to an acre of his heavily wooded backyard and says very sternly, "Put the satellite dish right there beneath the trees and point it that way toward the sky. I don't want to be able to see the satellite dish. It's pretty ugly." He walks over to the spot, all the while knowing this isn't going to work, uses his inclinometer, had to make it look like he tried, and says, "Sir, this isn't going to work here, or anywhere on the ground for the matter. The satellite we are aiming for is past these trees, and your TV won't get signal. It will need to go back on the roof. Customer. Well, then point it the other way then. He angrily shouts. Technician. Well, it's not going to. How is it not going to work? The sky is open, is it not? Do you just not want to work or what? That's a brand new roof. Additionally, I should also mention that tech drove 1.5 hours for this. The tech was patient and tried to reason with him, but he kept cutting him off before he could explain himself. He would still have 1.5 hours to drive back for a total of 3 hours. He was not getting paid by the drive, only by the job, and the boss rearranged his schedule since he was the closest and one of the few techs to have the proper equipment since the warehouse kept such poor stock. The company essentially did him over and wouldn't have coughed up the money even if the work did not go through. And so he did exactly as the customer said. He placed the satellite dish exactly how the customer wanted it pointed at the sky, and right after that, the technician left. And the customer was happy. Well, happy right until he went to turn on his TV and got the error code, 771, signal loss on satellite. The tech didn't pick up his phone for the customer when he tried calling, and then eventually the boss called and asked, "Why didn't you put the satellite dish on the roof?" Tech. I tried to explain it to him. I tried reasoning with him. I told him it wouldn't work where he wanted it, but he absolutely insisted it would because of the clear sky. So I gave him what he wanted. The customer is always right. The boss sympathetically says, "Yeah, but you know that's wrong." In the end, the customer's TV was out for the next 2 weeks, and he absolutely deserved every bit of it. From what my coworker told me, the boss didn't hear the end of it from the customer when the customer called in to complain, but my coworker told me that the boss absolutely deserved it because the boss was giving him crap all week. Edit. I should also mention that we get paid by the job. The company wasn't going to compensate him for the time spent setting up a non-functional satellite dish. Neighbor constantly complains about my noise waking up her baby. I've had enough. My garage is about 3 meters away from my neighbor's bedroom where their baby sleeps. I've got a roller door which beeps quietly 4 times within 20 seconds of me arriving home and pushing the button. It's so quiet that at times I can't hear it when sitting in the room adjacent to the garage when my partner comes home. Since my neighbor had her baby, I've made an effort to be more considerate of noise. Despite already soundproofing my rumpus room, I've stopped playing my drums after 6 p.m. I've also declined hosting friends outside in my backyard due to noise. I think I've been more than considerate, but apparently not. I get home from work at 11 p.m. and put my car in the garage. A couple weeks ago, my neighbor approached me and asked if I could wait until the morning to put my car away, but I declined as there have been break-ins to cars on our street lately. My car is also one that is targeted by thieves a lot as parts are expensive, and it's an enthusiast's car. I apologized, but I was firm when telling her that I will not, under any circumstances, leave my car out overnight. I also know that they sleep with their window open that faces my garage, but I thought it would be weird to bring it up and suggest they close the window. I'm also confused as I have an aftermarket exhaust on the car, which is louder than the original, but they've said nothing about that. A couple nights ago, I came home to her husband's car blocking my driveway, just enough that I couldn't get my car through. It was kind of useless because I pushed the button before I even reached my driveway, so it beeped anyway. They didn't come out, so I had their car towed, and they haven't done it since. Today, Saturday, I decided to play my drums around lunchtime in my soundproofed rumpus room. You can only hear minimal vibration from the kick from the outside, but it's at the rear of my property and quite far from any neighbors, but they still had something to say. The wife came over and basically said she had put up with my noise for long enough and that she was exhausted due to the kid never sleeping thanks to the noise I make. I was definitely still upset about the driveway blocking situation from the other night, and I snapped a little, telling her that I'd been considerate enough and already made concessions in terms of noise. I said that while it's within my rights to play music up until 10 p.m. in our council, I've cut myself off at 6 p.m. in consideration of her and her kid. I said that from now on, she'll have to get over it because I was done catering to her and her family. Not the jerk. It sounds like you've been very reasonable and you're allowed to live your life. They chose to have the baby. Surely they knew things might wake it up. And you're not supposed to keep things completely silent for the baby sleeping. They need to get used to a normal level of noise while sleeping. Obviously, don't vacuum the room they're in, but a neighbor's garage door is something they should be able to sleep through. Not the jerk. Not that it's a good excuse, but she's probably exhausted, and this is one of those need something to blame kind of things. She's probably fixated on you and your noise, because it's something that's right next door and something she can directly attack in a manner of speaking. It sounds as if she's unlucky enough to have one of those babies that just doesn't sleep much or well. That's not your fault though. The nice guy who lied to his date about who he was and really ended up paying for it. Long ago, I was waiting tables and I had a two-top. They looked to be on a date. Both were dressed up. She ordered a salad and he ordered a burger. She cocked her head to the side when he said that, and she said, "I thought you were vegan." He laughed it off, said he was, but that sometimes he splurged. She didn't look happy about that, but said nothing. All I could think of was, awkward. He ordered a Guinness halfway through his meal, and she raised an eyebrow at that too. "Wait a second, you said that you didn't drink either." He laughed it off again, saying he meant harder drinks. Certainly, beer wasn't an issue. I snuck away, but listened to them argue behind a server station. Her. "I specifically wrote on my profile that I was a vegan and I didn't drink." Him, waving his hand at her. "One beer isn't an issue. Plus, I haven't had meat in ages, at least a few weeks. Just because you don't doesn't mean your man can't." Her. "I was looking for like-minded men, someone who also doesn't eat meat or drink." He cut her off. "You know, I saw that on your profile, but I figured once you met me, you'd be open to it. Once you get to know me, I'm a great guy. You should give me a chance, despite our small differences." Her. "So far, 2 important facts you told me about yourself were lies." I got busy and had to go do something. Dang it. When I looked back, the woman was gone. She had pretended to go to the bathroom, found another server, gave him money, and told him to give it to me. Then she fled the restaurant. Her date waited a bit, and then he started looking toward the bathroom to see where she was. I brought the check and had updated it to show the payment she had made. Him, after looking at the bill. "She paid for her food? Where'd she go?" Me. "I think she may have left, sir." He gets angry. "What?" I shrugged. He got up, went to the bathroom door and knocked on it, calling her name. When nobody came out, he pushed the door open. I was about to tell him to get out of the restroom, but he saw it was empty and returned to the table. Digging for his wallet, he loudly complained about his date ditching him. He started telling the tables around him that his date had been a horrible person and had taken off. He used really mean words. I was shocked and they all looked uncomfortable. When I picked up his credit card to run it, he yelled at me, "Her loss. I make great money and have a big house. I have a boat. Her loss." I dropped his receipt while internally rolling my eyes at him. He had lied to her about who he was, and it was her loss? Yeah, okay. Up until then, I had never encountered an r/nice guy before. What a tool.
Hey, you. Listen, this is important. Less than half of our viewers are subscribed to the channel. So subscribe right now, do it. It helps us out more than you can imagine. Do it. And watch this video next. That one right there. Right there, watch that one. Click it.